there no paths by which we may recover the spirit of Locarno? Would follow any real path, not a sham or blind alley, which led to lasting reconciliation between Germany and her neighbors. Here at this moment, if the House will permit me, I venture to propound a general principle, which I humbly submit to the government and the House, which I earnestly trust they will follow. Here is my general principle. The removal of the just grievances of the vanquished ought to precede the disarmament of the victors. To bring about anything like equality of armaments, if it were in our power to do so, which it happily is not, while those grievances remain unredressed, would be almost to appoint the day for another European war, to fix it as if it were a prize fight. It would be far safer to reopen questions like those of the Danzig corridor and Transylvania, with all their delicacy and difficulty, in cold blood and in a calm atmosphere, and while the victor nations still have ample superiority, and to wait and drift on, inch by inch and stage by stage, until, once again, vast combinations, equally matched, confront each other face to face. There is another reason why I commend this to the House. It must be remembered that Great Britain will have more power and will run far less risk in pressing for the redress of grievances than in pressing for disarmament. We can only promote disarmament by giving further guarantees of aid. We can press for the redress of grievances by merely threatening, if our counsels are not attended to withdraw ourselves at the proper time from our present close entanglement in European affairs. First road of pressing for disarmament and offering more aid only leads us deeper and deeper into the European situation. Second either removes the cause of danger or leads us out of the danger zone. Just look to where our present policy is leading us. Look at the situation into which we are apparently marching blindly and with a sort of helpless chorus of approval. When we say to France and to Poland, "Why do you not disarm and set an example and respond to our gesture," and so on, they reply, "Will you then help us to defend ourselves?" Supposing that you are wrong in your view of what our factor of safety ought to be. Nobody keeps armaments going for fun. They keep them going for fear. We would gladly reduce, they say, provided we get you in line with us for certain. You will take some of our burden off our shoulders. There will be no hesitation on our part in transferring that burden. And what they say to us, they say still more to the United States. Or if they do not say it, they think it. But surely this is very dangerous ground for us. We are to persuade our friends to weaken themselves as much as possible. Then we are to make it up to them by our own exertions and at our own expense. Just as if one said, "I will go tiger hunting with you, my friend, on the one condition that you leave your rifle at home." That is not the kind of excursion on which our old men ought to send our young men. We have, of course, serious obligations which we have no intention of discarding under Locarno. But under Locarno we remain the sole and free judge of the occasion and of the proper interpretation put upon these obligations. Without our own vote in the Council of the League of Nations, which must be unanimous, we cannot be involved in war. You see now what the French propose in this latest scheme. They propose, quite logically and naturally, in responding to the pressure of Britain and the United States in disarmament, that the decision of the Council should be by a majority. That would mean that our fate would be decided over our head. We might find ourselves pledged in honor and in law to enter a war against our will and against our better judgment, in order to preserve those very injustices and grievances which sunder Europe today, which are the cause of present armaments, and which, if not arrested, will cause another war. These are not the days when you can order the British nation or the British Empire about as if it were a pawn on the chessboard of Europe. You cannot do it. Of course, if the United States are willing to come into the European scene as a prime factor, They were willing to guarantee to those countries who take their advice that they would not suffer for it, that an incomparably wider and happier prospect would open to the whole world. They were willing not only to sign but to ratify treaties of that kind. It would be an enormous advantage. It is quite safe for the British Empire to go as far in any guarantee in Europe as the United States is willing to go. Hardly any difficulty in the world could not be solved by the faithful cooperation of the English-speaking peoples. But that is not going to happen tomorrow. It is not in our power to anticipate our destiny. Meanwhile, we ought not to take any further or closer engagements in Europe beyond those which the United States may be found willing to take. I hope that the League of Nations is not going to be asked now to do the impossible. Those who believe, as I do sincerely, that the League of Nations is a priceless instrument of international comity which may play as great a part as the most daring, hopeful founders ever forecast for it, should be especially careful not to put upon the League strains which in its present stage it is utterly incapable of bearing. I deprecate altogether the kind of thought that, unless the League can force general disarmament, unless it can compel powerful nations in remote regions to comply with its decisions, it is dead. Away with it. All that is as foolish as it is to grudge the small sums necessary to keep this precious international machinery in being. It is a bad friend of the League of Nations who would set it tasks beyond its compass. There was only one thing more to say before I sit down, and it is suggested to me by the speech which the Lord President of the Council delivered recently. I did not hear it, but from all accounts it was one which profoundly impressed the House, and revealed the latent and often carefully concealed powers which reside in my right honorable friend. But that speech, while it deeply impressed the House, I have no doubt, and I have read it with great attention, led to no practical conclusion. It created anxiety, and it created also perplexity. There was a sense of, what shall I say, fatalism, and even perhaps helplessness about it. I take this opportunity of saying that as far as this island is concerned, the responsibility of ministers to guarantee the safety of the country from day to day and from hour to hour is direct and inalienable. It has always been so, and I am sure they will not differ from their predecessors in accepting that responsibility. Their duty is not only to try, within the restricted limits which I fear are all that is open to them, to prevent war, but to make sure that we ourselves are not involved in one, and above all to make sure that if war should break out among other powers, our country and the King's dominions can be effectively defended, and will be able to preserve, if they desire to do so, that strong and unassailable neutrality, from which we must never be drawn, except by the heart and conscience of the nation.